Hi, I'm Random Tuesday, and in this video I'm going to go over a variation on the slash and spread technique for pattern resizing. If you haven't checked it out yet, I suggest going to watch my previous video where I go in detail on how to use the slash and spread method to both increase or decrease the size of a pattern. A number of folks were asking in the comments of that video how to resize sleeves, so I'm going to use sleeves as a specific example because though the techniques are really similar and a lot of the basics are the same, for sleeves we often want to be adjusting curves as well as different portions of our sleeve pattern separately to other portion. So the pivot technique that I'm going to go over today essentially adds another tool in our toolkit of slash and spread, allowing us to get the precise fit that we want before we even jump into our mockup. So let's get started. To start, you're going to need a sleeve pattern of some kind. I'm using my Bicep sleeve basic block, which you can find in my basic block pattern pack over on my store. You can check out the link to that in the description down below. For this pattern, I would start by finding the center line and cutting it open along that line. First thing we're going to do is mark our bicep line. Your pattern may already have it marked, but if not, it's this bottom where this curve ends. You'll notice mine has a little tick up. That's because I've added a little extra volume on my blocks in the form of a fake dart. But the bicep edge is always the bottom of this curve. So now that I've marked this edge here, we're going to deal with the bottom section of our sleeve separately to this top curve, which is our sleeve cap. So we're going to go ahead and cut along this line. For the bicep, this is where we can totally do our normal slash and spread method. So in this instance, let's say I want my bicep to be 1 inch wider. I want just a little bit more ease in my bicep. So I'm going to start by fixating this piece where I would like it using my ruler. I recommend a clear square quilting ruler if you have one. Separating this out by 1 inch. Then we're going to go ahead and use a couple of pieces of tape to just keep these secure while we work on the sleeve cap. For the bottom section of your sleeve, you may end up doing some additional slashing and spreading, like potentially lengthening and shortening it. And for these sorts of lines and for this type of pattern, you can generally use the techniques that I show in my previous slash and spread video. For the sleeve cap, we're going to need to add a few more slashes, and we're actually going to treat this a little bit like pizza. So I'm going to cut each of these sections into wedges. Now, there's no, again, exact number of wedges. I like 3 because it's a nice number. They don't need to be super precise, but we are going to make a little bit of a pizza. First, I'm going to start with these pieces being lined up on our center point where we made this adjustment. And I'm going to just tack down these inner corners because what we're going to do is pivot. Now, the intention of this technique is to take this gap and spread it out evenly across the curve. I'm going to bring these two almost together in the center and then secure them in place. I'm eyeballing this. You could totally do this with the power of math. For example, I know that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gaps, and I could take 1 inch, divide it by 5, and change those perfectly evenly. Or you can be like me and guesstimate. I'm pretty happy with this curve. I've taken that 1 inch and spread it out more evenly across the entire top of my arm's eye, which still increases my arm by a whole inch, the same way as my bicep, but makes my curve a little bit smoother. Now, this is assuming that I am increasing the armhole by the same amount as my bicep measurement. But if I want my bicep measurement to change by a different amount than my armhole, we can still use this same technique. So now in this example, we're going to increase my arm measurement by 2 inches while my bicep has only increased by 1 inch. And the technique is going to be really similar if you're decreasing as well. In order to achieve the increase of 2 inches, I'm also going to change the height of this sleeve cap a little bit because I can't go further out and I obviously can't go further in because there's nowhere to go. So in order to add height, we're actually going to pivot from this outside edge. We're going to keep this line, but we're going to increase from this inner point. So I'm going to pivot from here because I still want the edge of this curve to line up with my bicep seam, and we're going to pivot this away. Now, to get a total of 1 inch added in height, give or take on our curve, we'll need to check this. I'm going to increase by, we'll say about 1/2 inch here and 1/2 inch on the other side. And then we'll double check our measurement. And now I'm going to repeat that on the other side. Then from there, I'm going to spread this evenly across this entire curve like we did before by pivoting
these more evenly together. Now to finish, I'll do the same as I would do with the regular slash and spread, grab a piece of tracing paper, and begin drawing the new outline.
Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you found this helpful. Let me know down in the comments below what other questions you have about pattern drafting or resizing or just general topics around sewing and cosplay that you would like me to make any videos on. As always, don't forget you can head over to my website, randomtuesday.com, where you can find links to my cosplays, write-ups, blogs, and other useful, handy information, as well as my store where you can purchase the pattern that I use. You can also check me out live on twitch.tv/randomtuesday or on all of the various social medias. A bunch of those links are down below. And lastly, and never leastly, thank you to each and every one of my supporters over on Patreon and over on Ko-fi. Ko-fi. If you're able to do so, any amount of support, monthly, one time, is truly appreciated. Thank you so much for watching.